Before getting started, I just want to say thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate if you would subscribe if you find any value in the information presented today. I appreciate it. So the subject of our video is going to be a strike of fear, the crash of 2025. We're just going to go very briefly over a few things for all of you out there who might be confused or scared about the conditions that we find ourselves in now. So the first thing that's on the board today is that markets happen in cycles. So things that continue to go up, eventually they do have to come down. And now, if you're familiar with the crash of 2008, or the crash that happened briefly during the COVID pandemic, or the crash of the early 1900s, you know that there are times when the economy takes a downturn. And this is part of the cycle of economic activity. It's something natural that happens, and it's nothing to be afraid of necessarily. There are things that can happen during times like this that feel very painful, and they feel like things are going to continue to go down, but that's not always the case. So just keep in mind that the market will eventually recover and things will eventually turn around. The only question is, when is that going to happen, and what exactly is that going to look like? And the thing that we have to keep in mind is that we might be reaching into unprecedented territory when it comes to how things are looking in an overall perspective of the picture. We don't necessarily have a crystal ball, so we cannot predict the future. We cannot say, how exactly is the situation going to turn out. But that brings us to number two. Why are they crashing the markets? So the US President Donald Trump introduced a lot of tariffs. I'm sure you're aware of this. And the main reasoning behind his plan is to bring a lot of the manufacturing back into the United States, so that the countries that were previously outsourced, we were giving a lot of our business away to people in different countries. And part of the plan, at least what they're saying, is that they want to bring a lot of the manufacturing back into the country so that we can increase job growth and that we can sort of bring ourselves back to almost like an industrial type of era. But there's a few things that are going to conflict with this, and the first one is going to be the development of artificial intelligence technologies, which are obviously, a lot of these companies are going to be pushing towards automation, eliminating the amount of workers that they have to keep on their payroll. So keep that in mind. But the overall long-term perspective, at least what they are reporting to us now, is that they want to bring more business into the United States. And also, this could be used as a form of negotiation to come up with further arrangements, and some of these tariffs could actually be removed. So what we're getting right now is a very short-term image of what's actually going to happen, and we just have to kind of wait and see how this is all going to play out. We're going to touch very briefly on a sensitive subject, which is conspiracies. Now, if you've heard of the Great Reset, one of the quotes that's coming out of the Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum, is that you will own nothing and you will be happy. So there's this idea going around that they want to introduce a universal basic income system. And what that's really designed to do is designed to essentially erode the middle class. Because once you have a society that's living off of government funds, and there aren't as many jobs available, for example, because of artificial intelligence, you're going to find ourselves in a place where the middle class essentially starts to die out completely. And we're already witnessing this. This has already been happening. If you study anything about the income of today versus the cost of living that we have, it's completely different than it was, 40 years ago, 100 years ago. Things were a lot different then. So the conspiracy surrounding that notion that they want to slowly take away the middle class, there's only going to be two classes of separation at that point, which you would have the elite, of course, those who were already very well off financially and wealthy, who own companies or things like that, and there will be those of us who live off of the universal basic income. The fourth thing that I want to go over is solutions for long-term investors. Now, there's one thing you can do, which is hedge your positions. And one way you can do this, if you own shares of different companies and you've noticed that your portfolio is going down, you have to keep a long-term vision. And obviously, eventually, the plan is for us to get out of this pain that we're experiencing financially with the market downturn. So what do I mean by hedging your position? There's one thing that you can do if you want to really get deep into it, which is buy options specifically to short the market temporarily while things are going down. So if you imagine you have your portfolio, which is going down based on the market currently, and let's say you buy some puts, so you're shorting the market while you have your long-term investments. And what that's going to do, it's going to slightly equalize the portfolio, or at least that's the intention behind such an action. And this is not financial advice, but this is a tool that you can use if you have, a concern about the actions of your portfolio currently. The other thing you can do is DCA. DCA stands for dollar cost averaging. So you're continuing to receive income from your job and whatever it is that you do to make money. And as that money's coming in, when the market continues to go down, let's say the market drops 10% and you place a buy order for, you say, 100 shares, and you have a cash reserves on hand, hopefully, in this position, and the market drops another 5%. You're going to place another buy order for another 50 shares, 100 shares, and as it continues to go down, you continue to cost average into the position so that when things finally do start to recover again, you're going to see those investments at the lower levels increase with a higher percentage than the previous holdings you had at the higher levels. So number 5 that we're going to touch on today is rising costs and what to do about that. The cost of living is going to continue to increase, and specifically with the United States, there isn't any promise currently that they're going to start to lower interest rates. So if you're a first-time home buyer, for example, this might not be the best time, because home prices, they're already dropping, and we're seeing a large spike in the number of homes that are available on the market as well. So keep that in mind. If you're trying to buy a house right now, you might want to just wait a little bit longer and see where things go. And with the rising cost of food, obviously with the tariffs and all these things happening and inflation, we're going to see a rising cost in food, transportation, basic living. So keeping all these things in mind, right now is a great time to look into starting some kind of a side hustle, limiting the subscriptions that you have. If there's anything you're paying for with your cards that you can eliminate to save more money, that's something you can do in the short term to try to fight back against the downturns that we're experiencing. And also, like I said, looking into different side hustles, now is a great time. If you have time on the weekend to drive for Uber Eats or something like that, I know the cost, the earnings with that isn't very great, but it is a time to definitely look into starting secondary sources of income, or even a third source if you already have two, and just stack these multiple sources of income to save, to invest more if you feel like that is the necessary thing to do. And we have to keep a long-term perspective, because things that are happening right now, it's probably not going to last this way for very long. By the end of the year at least, we should have an answer as far as where things going to go from here. It's very hard to say currently, so stay tuned. I just wanted to cover a few things, like I said, very briefly. I would appreciate it if you would like this video. It really helps the algorithm spread this to more people, and we're going to go deeper into subjects like this in future videos. I hope you all stay safe out there, and have a great day.